Hey folks, Malforian here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the martial lifestyle. This is just a short series about the different lifestyles in Crusader Kings, just giving you a rough overview, and then we're having a little bit of a discussion about, what could change in the future. If you've got any feedback on when you might use these trees in the game itself, just for new players and, for veteran players as well. Maybe there's one of these that you don't think is very good, but actually in this certain circumstance it's actually a good lifestyle perk to take. So this one's martial. Like I said, I did diplomacy in the last video. There'll be a link to the playlist down below, but we're just going to get straight into it. Martial lifestyle, obviously all around doing wars, mostly to do with doing wars. We'll see obviously as we talk through it. There are the three focuses like all the lifestyles. You've got strategy focus, which just gives you a flat martial bonus. Authority focus, which gives you +1 martial, 20% more dread, 0.3 control growth, and then the chivalry focus, +3 prowess, +10 attraction opinion, and +5 knight advantage. For me personally, I think I generally take the chivalry focus, just because I think if I'm playing a martial focus character, you generally get the martial from elsewhere. For the most part, I think, especially if you've got a high level martial character, you get a lot of martial. As you can see here with Heisteen, he's got 26 martial. We wouldn't need to go into strategy focus just to get that additional martial. 26 is quite enough, I think. So generally I'll go down chivalry focus for the main reason of, well, the +3 prowess is okay, but let me know what you think. But I think knight advantage bonuses are basically the best bonuses in the game when it comes to combat, because knights, especially early on, I think have such a massive effect on battles that any bonus you can get to them is one you should take, because a lot of the time early on, armies are roughly about the same size, or you might be going up against somebody who's slightly bigger. But if you have a lot of knight bonuses, you can just defeat armies that are way, way bigger than you, especially as early on, people don't have a lot of the men-at-arms, which can counteract knights, especially later on in the game. But early on, I think knights are just so OP that anything you can do to buff knights is going to aid you massively in fights. We've all seen it. If you go to the Crusader Kings Reddit, you've seen these fights where it's like 10 knights versus 5,000 troops, and the 10 knights have won because they've just stacked all the knight bonuses, and levies just get absolutely wrecked by them. So obviously that's a far out example, but I have seen it happen. So like I say, generally I take this one. The authority one's not too bad. It's just like a middle of the road kind of change. +20% dread is quite good if you're playing, a dread focused character to keep the vassals in line. And the 0.3 control growth is actually probably better than a lot of people think, because it does give you extra gold and levies if you're doing a lot of expansion, or if you actually suffer a lot of raids and I guess a lot of wars against you that you don't then lose. You obviously will lose control in your counties. So the 0.3 doesn't sound like a lot, but it does actually help you quite a bit, and that gives you extra levies and gold from your control being high enough. The actual trees themselves, we've got strategist, which is the first one. Bellum Justin, which gives you 50% cheaper caster spell eyes. This is actually really good, just because caster spell eyes, especially if you're feudal, just are quite expensive at the beginning of the game for actually implementing. So, it's basically buy one, get one free on wars. So I think this is actually probably one of the best perks in all the trees here. We'll talk about the other ones later on, obviously, but this is really, really good for a starting perk. Just half price wars, basically. It's just really good. Parthian tactics, this buffs your cavalry, all the different kinds of cavalry, with toughness and pursuit. If you've got a cavalry-focused army, this is obviously going to just be a really fantastic bonus. Envelopment, men-at-arms counters efficiency +25%. If you do have a lot of men-at-arms, or well, even if you only have a few men-at-arms, it's just a nice bonus. 25% more efficient at countering whoever they naturally counter. So, spearmen against horsemen and stuff like that just makes them even better at countering them. Organized march, 15% movement speed, which is not too bad. Maybe I devalue movement speed more than I should, I suppose, especially when you're trying to escape other armies or even doing raiding, I suppose. It has actually quite a nice bonus. And then the screen for the different men-at-arms types, again, +5, which is nice. Hit and run, -25% retreat losses, which is, is really good. If you're losing battles, you're going to lose less men from losing those battles. And then the toughness and damage of skirmishers, archers, spearmen, heavy infantry, all get a bonus. Obviously, some of these you won't have, depending on what men-at-arms you have, so it is kind of situational, but I think the retreat bonus kind of makes it a bit more universal. But obviously, if you don't have heavy infantry, spearmen, archers, or skirmishers, then there's no point taking this, but you probably have at least one of those. Archers generally a nice one to take for your early men-at-arms, even if you're struggling to be able to afford them. Engineered for destruction, Plus 25% naval speed. I don't know. I never take naval speed bonuses. I don't see the point. Although, again, I suppose if you're raiding's the only example where I think it's good, I suppose. Just because you can, move around the map faster. If you're playing in England and you're raiding somebody, you can raid into even the Byzantines or somewhere, which is quite nice to go raiding in and get back quicker. So, I guess it's good for that. But the main bonus is the siege weapon effectiveness 40%. That's really good. If you have siege weapons, obviously at the beginning of the game, a lot of places don't, but as soon as you get those siege weapons, plus 40% just means you can siege things down way, 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 way easier. So this is actually really good. This is probably the one I take first if I go down this tree, just because the siege weapon effectiveness is just so good, especially early on where you can take a year to do a siege. Obviously, 40% quicker doing this, well, 40% more effective. Living off the land, just raid speed plus 25% and plus 200% supply capacity. So this is actually quite a raid, although it doesn't call it out, it is quite a raiding focus bit of this, to be honest, if you think about it, because you can move faster, you siege things down quicker, and then living off the land, raid speed is also then increased. So if you're going raiding and you have siege equipment, you're raiding places down so much faster if you have both of these. And then obviously there are other bonuses as well that can help with that. And then the supply capacity 200%, again, you can go raiding for longer before you start taking attrition, and you don't want to take attrition when you're raiding because it lowers the amount of gold that you can carry. So yeah, it's actually quite raid focused. Obviously it does help with just general wars, but it's actually quite a nice raid focused side of the tree if you are raiding. And then sappers, this is actually really underrated. I think a lot of people don't realize how good this is early game. It's good later on as well, but early game, if you don't have siege equipment, this actually increases the siege progress from other units without siege equipment by 0.1, which again isn't a lot, but every bonus helps. If this knocks a little bit of time off, you can siege more than the enemy can, or you can just siege it before the enemy gets to you with a little bit more time to spare. So this is actually, I think, pretty underrated. And then obviously once you get siege equipment, it's not as good, but it still helps you, those units are still helping you siege quicker, even if you have siege equipment. So sappers is actually fantastic, and I think it is kind of underrated by a lot of players. And then strategist is the cap, and that just gives you +1 diplomacy. It's nice to have something that isn't martial focused, +3 martial, plus 25% fatal casualties for the enemy, and you can cross rivers and straits without advantage penalties. Yes. So basically, if you cross water, you don't get I think it's disembarkment debuff for 2 or 3 months. Can't remember off the top of my head, but this removes that penalty. So you can cross water without any issues, which again is great, because if you're doing a lot of wars, obviously, well, only if you're only doing wars around rivers or coming off a ship, then it's... Actually, no, it's only crossing rivers and straits. So yeah, no, if you're only crossing rivers or straits, obviously if you don't play in a part of the map with those, then it's not going to give you any bonus. But the other bonuses are nice. The +3 martial, plus 25% fatal casualties is great, especially as you're taking less yourself from whichever one it was that reduced retreat losses. There we go. Well, if you lose, you're taking less, but if you win, you're doing more damage. So overall, I think strategist is a great tree. It's pretty generic. Like, I think it covers most situations in the game. But especially if you're raiding, actually, it is actually pretty decent. But if you're doing any kind of war, it's basically the default one, I think, to take for the most part. We'll talk about gallant later. And then overseer, serve the crown. This one, I will usually actually put a point in serve the crown on most characters, especially if I'm newly taking over somewhere, or if I think I'm not going to be as liked as my previous character. Just because you get that +15 natural dreads, you just always have +15. Well, I say always. If you have 0 dread, it actually has to tick up to 15. It doesn't give you 15 immediately. It's just your natural dread level. So you'll have 0, but then it will tick up to 15 pretty quickly. But it doesn't do it immediately, so do be aware of that. And then control growth 0.3 a month. That ties in nicely with authority, because it's 0.6 a month. So again, if you have a lot of control issues, this can just, in the background tick up, and then you can do the focus with your council as well on that, which obviously helps even further. Control territory, defender advantage +5. Obviously, if you are getting attacked a lot, this is useful. I don't find it that useful because, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm not getting attacked that often, and then also fighting in my own territory. So it is a good bonus, but it's not, I don't think, anything crazy. And during hardship, +1 fort level. Enemy occupations do not lower control. So again, this one is fantastic if you're being being raided, in fact, I find this quite good because it does up your fort level by 1. And also, if you're just at that kind of tier of maybe the enemy doesn't have the next tier of siege equipment, if you can just knock your forts into the next tier, which again can like double the siege time that they have. So this is actually really, really good. And also, if you have a large empire that doesn't really have, you haven't got the money to upgrade your forts, it's just making your forts just that little bit extra. And it is good, I think, if you're a victim of a lot of raiding, it can actually be pretty useful because again, it just slows down those raiding armies and you can maybe fight them off and then steal their gold. So, and it's actually quite good. And obviously, enemy occupations do not lower control is really good because if you do have a lot of land that gets occupied, it does lower control pretty bad and it can take a while to get that back. So this actually reduces the need for better control growth, but you do get that anyway from the other things on there. So overall, really, really good for control issues. Army gold maintenance minus 15%. Pretty good, pretty good. I don't know. I think once you get to a certain point, you have so much money, it doesn't matter how much how much your army costs, but it is a nice bonus anyway. Friendly territory levy reinforcement rate plus 100% is actually really good. If you do retreat your armies back into your own land, they are going to recover 100% faster than before, which, cannot complain about. That's always a good bonus. And then strict organization, increase control and county progress, gain plus 20%. This is the council task for your marshal, which will obviously increases the control in a county. And this just makes that better. So this tied with all the other things, a lot of control bonuses if you are in that issue. Hard rule, dread gain plus 20%. If you're playing a dread focus character, you just find it easier to find dread. Siege progress against revolts plus 50%. I mean, I guess this is good, but like, when's the last time you actually had? I guess if you have a lot of revolts, you might have them siege stuff down. But I can usually deal with revolts before they even remotely siege anything. So, and even then, once you've defeated the army, it ends anyway. So, I don't know. I mean, it's good, I suppose, if you do have to remove siege progress. But, oh, wait, I'm wrong about this. No, it makes sieges take 50% longer. Yeah, it's not removing siege. It's how long the siege takes, I think. Do you know what? I'm not even sure. I'm going to leave this bit in. I'm not actually sure which way it is. Either way, I don't think it's that useful. Faction military power threshold for vassals plus 20%, plus 20. So this just means factions need more men before they can trigger the faction demand. So it's quite good. It gives you time to try remove that faction in other ways. So not too bad at all. Soldiers of less fortune, minus 30% mercenary high cost. I don't know, guys. I don't actually hire mercenaries that often. There are times when I do, especially early game, where having some mercenaries, if you can get the money, is just such an advantage. It's crazy because you get those men-at-arms and you just can double your army size. I mean, it's expensive, but if you're raiding, it's not that bad to actually do. And you can usually win maybe like 2 quick wars before they are lost to you. So 30% is not too bad. I think late game, it's less useful. But early game, it's not too bad. And absolute control and counters just gives you a bonus for having, I think you need to have a 100. Control is 100. You get absolute control, which gives you additional tax and levies. So nice bonus. This is actually quite good. It actually gives you a stewardship kind of bonus because obviously it gives you more levies, but it also gives you more gold from that bonus. So, and obviously everything previous increases your control, so you're more likely to be at 100. And then overseer, if I can do this right, gives you plus 2 martial, plus 2 stewardship, and 50% control growth. So your control is just out of out of control at this point. If you lose control anywhere, you're going to get it back pretty quick. But it does give you that stewardship bonus as well. So like I said, under diplomacy, a lot of these trees, and it's not a surprise or a hot take. Everyone's known this since the game came out. But a lot of these trees do have bonuses that aren't related exactly to that tree, which is great because I think it does kind of work a little bit better that way, that they're not just super martial focused. I mean, it is martial focused, but at least this overseer one does give you, at the end it gives you stewardship, but all, control across the board gives you more gold. So it is actually a bonus to your other areas of the game as well. But anyway, that's Overseer, pretty good tree, I think. In fact, I think all of them are good, but we'll talk about that after this last one. And then Gallant, if you've watched my channel at all, you'll know Gallant is my favourite tree, basically probably in the entire lifestyle system, just because it fits most games, more than any of the others, I think, for the most part anyway. So Stalwart Leader, plus 4 prowess, is okay. Reduces the risk of commanding armies, may challenge rivals to single combat, inflicting stress if you win. So, pretty good. How often do you actually lead your own armies? I probably don't do as much as I should, but if you do, it's actually quite a nice bonus. And then we'll get on the left-hand side, because this is the worst of the two sides. This is all about relationships, romance, more romance chance, more elope chance, promising prospects, marriage acceptance for yourself plus 50, and then bonuses for your close family and extended. This is actually better than I've probably rated it before. I have done a tier list before on the lifestyles, and this is a bit more of like well, not in depth, but a bit more of a discussion about each one than that was. But I probably underrated this then, because this does mean you can get way better marriages than you would otherwise be able to. This can also kind of counteract like religious differences, not fully, because I think it's minus 100. But it can help you, get marriages that there was no way you could get otherwise. So this is actually probably better than I've given it credit before. But again, it's not really martial focused, but I guess it kind of is because you can bring allies then into wars. But yes, this is actually pretty good. Obviously, you can also use it for maybe getting some matrilineal marriages for your children, for your daughters that could give you land in the future. So it is actually, it's not a direct martial ability, but you can expand your realm probably using it in other ways. And then loyalty and respect, spouse opinion plus 50, I guess is good. You don't want them against you because they obviously could be quite a good agent for people trying to kill you. And the skills from spouse counselor tasks plus 25% is just a bonus. All those tasks your wife can do or your husband just are better. So they can just give you more stats from their stats, basically. So not too bad, not too bad. I don't think I'd ever beeline to get this, but it's not too bad. And then obviously I think this is the best side. This is, I think, by far the best martial tree, like single line. But let me know in the comments if you disagree. Chivalric dominance plus 75% knight effectiveness. That basically almost doubles how good your knights are. Especially if you've taken other bonuses, you'll have the plus 5 advantage down here for your knights. Well, your knights commanders, and this gives you 75%. You're getting almost up to 200% better knight effectiveness. And as I said at the beginning, I think knights are so OP in most scenarios that it's just crazy good. If you have a realm, you have like 10 or 12 knights, like you're just winning most fights. I'm going to be honest with you. Never back down. Minus 20% friendly fatal casualties. Obviously, your armies just take less casualties during fights. And then plus 5 advantage for your knights. So again, coupled with the plus 5 from chivalry, you get plus 10 knight effectiveness and knight advantage, which again is awesome. And then household guards, you get more knights, plus 4 knights. So you have more knights, they do better, they have more advantage, and they have more effectiveness. And they're just a wrecking machine, basically. And then Peacemaker, Peace Acceptance plus 10. And this is actually better than... I think this is okay. It basically means at 90, you can generally peace people out instead of having to wait to 100. I think in larger wars, it's way better, where you're unlikely to just quickly win a war. At the beginning of the game, if you're fighting small counties and duchies, it's probably not as good, because generally once you've taken the capital and fought like 2 fights, you've won. Or you've captured somebody, obviously. Whereas I think in larger wars, this is a lot better for, it might drag on for a while. This, it can get to 90 easier than 100. So it's okay. I don't think it's as good as some of these other ones, like Sapper's Absolute Control. I don't think it's as good as those, but it's not too bad. And then Gallant, which is the main capstone thing here, is plus 2 martial, plus 4 prowess, 20% more prestige, and plus 20 attraction opinion. So yeah, this is just nice. 20% more prestige. Actually, saying this, I only just thought of this. If you started as diplomatic and took these 4, which like crazy buff your prestige, and then came into martial and got all the way down to gallant, you'd be having insane levels of prestige, because you get all the bonuses from there, and then 20% more as well. It'd actually be quite a cool kind of campaign to do, like a gallant diplomat kind of character. It'd be kind of interesting to do that. But anyway, it's a crazy bonus, 20% more monthly prestige. And then the attraction bonus plus 20, again, you can get better marriages and things like that. Obviously, you have all the bonuses from here as well, which will help. So yeah, Gallant, I think, is awesome. I think the left-hand side of it isn't as good as the right-hand side, but it all depends. The left-hand side, I guess, is more, you could use it to peacefully expand, almost like a diplomatic tree. And then the right-hand side is just about making your knights just space marines, basically, and just wiping everyone out with them. So yeah, Gallant's really good. Overall, I think Martial's a fantastic lifestyle to choose. A lot of bonuses, obviously most of it around just helping you expand. And I'll be honest, I guess most people playing the game are here to map paint. So I would imagine, let me know in the comments, I imagine most of you choose Martial a lot of the time, just because it just gives just crazy bonuses. There are some in Stewardship, which we'll get to, which actually help in combat as well. but obviously Marshall is the one focused on it. At the end of these videos, we're kind of thinking of ideas about what we could see in the future, maybe any changes to these systems. And I think for Gallant, one I've always thought about is if you're playing as a tribe, I don't know if Gallant makes sense, because it's all about like knights, making knights better, making them more powerful, making them, have more knights and things like that, which I think for like more, I don't know, historical, realism, I guess. I don't think tribes generally have knights. So it'd be cool if this got replaced with, maybe this whole tree. Maybe, the left-hand side would work fine, to be honest, under a tribe or something like that, because it fits anything. But I think the top one, the top one's fine as well because it's prowess. I think these three, it'd be cool if they got switched out. So maybe they were more levy focused, or more, it just buffed like archers and skirmish units or something like that. Something that gave it a little bit more flavor to tribal characters. Or do you know what? Even if they just made a fourth tree, maybe we'll in the future get a fourth tree for all of these. But I think a fourth tree that was focused around buffing your levies more, or something like that, because early game, if you've played as a tribe, or you've come up against a tribe, or just anyone, to be honest, that's mostly focused on levies and don't have much men-at-arms or knights, then you could just wreck them without any effort. And I think having a bit of a tree that was focused specifically on levies, obviously it'd be hard to balance. That's why maybe it would have to be tied to tribes, or maybe not even tribes. I don't know. There'd have to be some way to balance it so it just didn't buff levies for people who also have buffed men-at-arms and knights, because then they just get crazy good. But maybe it had some kind of bonus. Maybe you could sacrifice so you don't have any knights. Maybe that's how it would work. One of these would be you no longer have knights, but your levies are X more efficient or have additional powers, I don't know, and then the next two would then buff them further or add abilities to them or something. I think that would actually be pretty cool. I just thought of that again, like under the diplomacy video. I'm just making these up as I talk about them, so they might be a terrible idea, but I think that would be pretty cool to add some flavor. Give up your knights, but you buff your levied armies, so it's all about you being the leader of your tribe and being like, hey, come on guys, we're gonna fight off these knights, these knightly guys from France. And it's just about the force of your control over your tribe, I guess, or something. And I think that'd be cool. It'd add some nice flavor to more tribal playthroughs, and would kind of fit a little bit better, I think, than just building up knights under any kind of realm. That was my idea. Let me know if it's terrible. But that is it. That's the Marshall tree, and like I say, overall fantastic. A lot of good bonuses. Kind of fits different playstyles as well. But let me know what you think in the comments. When do you use this tree? Maybe there's some way that I've not thought about using it, or what kind of campaign is generally useful in. But yeah, we leave it there for today. So hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. The next one will be Stewardship, which will be coming up in a couple of days. And if you're new here, this is just a guide on the different lifestyles. There's a tier list, which I'll link at the end as well, which I did about a year ago. So it might be a little bit wrong now, I would imagine. But yeah, I cover Crusader Kings and other strategy games on the channel. So if you know what to do, hit subscribe. But for now, we'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one.